Everyone to the webinar, our webinar this evening. We'll get started here in just a few minutes. Just want to give everybody a bit of time to log in. So hope everyone's had a fantastic day, that everything's going well wherever you're at. Here in Columbus, Ohio, despite what it looks like, since as you can obviously see, I'm just enjoying a sunny day on the oval. As I look outside my windows, it's actually a bit overcast. So just having fun with that. But we'll give it probably about another minute or so, just so that way we can give everyone an opportunity to sign in. See more people logging in right now. Very excited to have you here this evening. Carrie Mills and myself, this is something that we've been working on for a while. This is the third one that we're doing on the series with honors and scholars, highlighting different features of both programs. So hopefully when you saw that invitation, if there's some of the other ones, I know that we have another honors one coming up in October, discussing the honors classroom, that we have one, I believe, in November on eminence. So that's the top level sort of programmer award within the honors college. And then there's going to be a couple of programs on scholars communities. So just having that happening. It looks like we have a number of attendees here. Don't see those numbers jumping up too much right now. So go ahead and get started, and we can still have time for other people to join. But to go ahead and introduce myself, my name's Rob Reed. I'm a Senior Assistant Director in Undergraduate Admissions, and I'm helping out tonight. I'm going to be mostly in the background, just helping answer admissions related questions. This evening's really about giving you an opportunity to hear from Dr. Dana Miller, one of our faculty members, and Nick and Emily, two of our students at the university, as they talk about their experiences with research at the university, and also to hear a little bit about the honors program. So as we're going into the program tonight, if you do have questions for us, you can use, click on Q&A, put those questions in there. We'll be more than happy to answer those questions. If they're simple questions, or if there's questions for our panelists once they get going, we hope to see lots of questions. We want to be able to answer your questions for you. So use Q&A, the Q&A feature for that. Just recognize that anything you put in there, everyone's going to be able to see. If you do have questions that you would like answered that maybe are more individual questions, we can follow up with you afterwards via email, and we can make sure that you have that contact information. Also, just to let you know, as we're going throughout the autumn, Ohio State, we're not doing any on-campus visits this fall. So that's where we're trying to find different opportunities to come to you virtually. We're going to reassess the situation later this fall, and then see what we're doing for spring. But at least through December, we're not going to be offering any visits. But you can see all of our virtual options by going to campusvisit.osu.edu. Next, I want to just read you our anti-racism statement. This is something that we take very seriously at the university, and something that we want to make sure that we're really putting out there as one of our values as an institution. So as members of the Ohio State University, we condemn anti-Black racism and racism in all of its forms. We are committed to engaging, interrupting, and dismantling institutionalized racist structures. Ohio State's mission to prepare students to be leaders and engaged citizens calls us to demand and support change. Learn more about the work of Ohio State at go.osu.edu/addressing racism. So we just know that with everything going on in the world right now, that we think that that's just very important to put that out there as one of our core values, and to let, and just to have that there, know that we want Ohio State to be a safe place. Moving into what we're going to be talking about this evening. This webinar really is designed to bring Ohio State to you. And so, as I said, we'll start with one of my colleagues, Carrie Mills. She'll talk with you a little bit about the honors program, about how to apply to the honors program via the common application. And then we're going to move into hearing from Dr. Dana Miller and our students. So hearing about that, about faculty experience with undergraduate research, and then also just having some of our students join in, so that way you can hear from them as well about what their experiences have been with research, or what their experiences currently are with that. But with all of that being said, I'll turn everything over to Carrie. Thank you.
Great, thanks, Rob. Hi, everybody. My name is, Rob said, is Carrie Mills, and I'm an assistant director in our Honors and Scholars Center. And I'm very excited to be here today to talk with you about the honors program in undergraduate research. I've spent 24 years of my professional career working with honors students, and I can say they're just amazing people to work with, and we're very excited to be trying to showcase a little bit of that for you today. As Rob said, we have some staff behind the scenes answering questions, so please do feel free to use that Q&A to ask any questions you may have. Today I'm going to talk about the honors program, the benefits of the program, and talk a little bit about how to apply. And then I'm also going to talk a little bit about the Eminence Fellows program and scholarship. And then we'll turn it over to Professor Dana Miller and her students, and they'll spend the bulk of our time together giving you a closer look into undergraduate research, and we'll leave some time at the end for questions. So the University Honors Program supports the intellectual and personal development of talented undergraduate students, challenging them within a rigorous academic environment and promoting the integration of curricular and co-curricular engagement. And that's really the mission of our honors program, is trying to support these very intellectually and advanced students in our programs at Ohio State. And our center also facilitates impactful, rigorous, and unique opportunities for high ability students that further student success and involvement in what we call our goals. And these goals are high impact practices that we believe our honors and scholars students need to be successful at the university, in their communities, and in life after college. We believe the more experiences they have, the better off they'll be. And I'm not going to go into each one of them. Most of them are pretty self-explanatory. The only one I'll really call out is original inquiry, and that is our fancy word for research. Makes our acronym work, but also is a little bit more all-encompassing in terms of research when we talk about research. So we do have two separate programs, our University Honors Program and our Ohio State Scholars Program. And it's all about finding the right program and finding the right fit. So neither program is better or worse. The programs are different paths to the same destination, which is ultimately that Ohio State diploma. The primary focus for honors is on the enhanced curricular experience inside the classrooms and laboratories. So we challenge our honors students to push themselves to go farther in both depth and breadth of learning. And we expect that they are taking a rigorous curriculum, more rigorous than what they took in high school. Our primary focus for scholars is on the enhanced co-curricular or extracurricular experiences outside of the classroom, but still very academic in nature. Students are applying for one of the 17 living learning communities centered around a particular theme or area of interest. Students cannot start out participating in both programs, and we'll explain that a bit later when we get to how to apply. The bulk of what we're going to talk about is the honors program rather than the scholars programs tonight. And listed here are some benefits afforded to our honors students. Students must pursue a challenging curriculum as prescribed by their College of Enrollment. They need to engage in learning opportunities within the goals framework. Our students foster a sense of identity, community, and belonging as it relates to holistic wellness and diverse perspectives. And students utilize networks within the Ohio State and Greater Columbus communities to develop and practice personal and professional skills. This includes your honors advisor, who helps monitor your honors requirements, helps you figure out who you want to be, and sets you up for success. Our students are also given priority scheduling at the beginning of the university. And we do this because we require so much of them in the classroom and the laboratories that we need to provide them the opportunity to enroll in the classes and the research that we require. Honors courses are not extra courses. They're enhanced, academically rigorous versions of courses required for students' majors. So typically our honors courses are capped at enrollment at 25 students or smaller to foster meaningful engagement between the students and faculty, as well as to build that community among the students. Students are not taking all honors classes all the time. Typically students take 1 or 2 honors courses a semester. And honors courses on the student's transcript are designated with an H, but they aren't weighted any differently than non-honors courses. So we know at your high schools, some of your AP courses or your honors courses may be weighted a little heavier. We don't do that here at Ohio State, but it is designated with an H on your transcript so that grad school knows that you've taken an honors curriculum or you're that job after college, wherever it is you're going after college. So undergraduate research or original inquiry really enables honor students to contribute to the body of knowledge for their disciplines. All honor students are strongly encouraged and most are required to complete an honors thesis. If the honors thesis is not required, then the college will have some sort of honors contract for students to ensure that they're taking a rigorous and appropriate curriculum. Honors students who successfully complete their 4-year honors curriculum and maintain a 3.4 GPA can graduate with honors. And honors students who successfully complete their honors thesis graduate with honors research distinction on their diploma. In today's webinar, you'll learn lots more about undergraduate research from Professor Dana Miller and her students. So we have 3 honors designated residence halls. Our honors students are required to live in those halls or another approved university sponsored learning community their very first year of the program, unless they're commuting from home. We find that the students get access to programming designed specifically for high achieving students that ties directly to academic success at Ohio State. They have a strong honors focused community and sense of tradition. They have a peer network of high ability students who are successful in balancing involvement in academics and co-curricular activities, and access to other honor students, making it easier to find students to go to class with and form study groups. It's all about the community of students, and we know that students with like interests who live together do better both academically and socially. It's about the people and students building their community and support network. So our application process, foremost is most important for students to apply by November 15th, which is the early application deadline to the university. While we will take applications until February 1st, we do have the tendency to fill our class early, and so priority consideration is given to students who follow that November 15th deadline. Students must make a choice on the common application and apply for either the honors program or the scholars program. And after their choice, they must respond to our essay prompt, which is listed on the screen for you there. We do not see your application until you've been admitted for fall semester to the Columbus campus. There are 2 points of entry into our honors program. So students can apply for honors as an incoming freshman through the common application, or any student, including our scholar students, can apply after 1 semester of Ohio State coursework, as long as they've taken a rigorous curriculum and have a GPA of a 3.4 or a 3.5, depending on their college of enrollment. After a student has been admitted to Columbus campus, then they undergo a competitive holistic review process for honors or scholars. And our competitive holistic review includes these 4 areas listed here. Academics, this category includes the academic components of the applicant's file, including things like class rank, standardized test scores, college prep curriculum. We're looking for students who took full advantage of the academic opportunities available at their high school, including things such as AP, IB, and post-secondary education. Students should be well prepared to participate in a rigorous honors and scholars curriculum at The Ohio State University. Extracurricular activities, this category includes the applicant's extracurriculars, honors, awards, and any work experiences. We're seeking students who demonstrate a variety of dedicated, sustained involvement and possess some leadership roles. We also look for students who have received unique recognition above and beyond traditional awards. And then our essay, first and foremost, we're looking for students who answer our essay prompt, so be sure you're answering the right prompt. We really use that essay to gain an understanding of the student that we're unable to obtain from elsewhere in the application to the university. So that's the time for you to really showcase who you are. The student should also possess and demonstrate analytical and critical thinking skills. And lastly, we're looking for creativity and willingness to think beyond traditional structures and cliched answers. And then finally, we have our additional attributes. This category includes the applicant's skills and special abilities or talents and their personal and professional characteristics. So some examples of personal and professional characteristics include things such as resiliency, integrity, adaptability, persistence, motivation, and intellectual curiosity. We're also looking for students who have the ability and the desire to contribute to and engage with a diverse campus community, which includes cultural, economic, racial, and geographic, to name a few. All right, our notification process. Once students are admitted to Columbus campus, they will receive admittance to our honors program on a rolling basis between January and April. Students just need to pay their university acceptance fee by May 1st in order to participate in the program. There isn't a separate fee for the honors program to either accept or to participate in the program. We do have one very prestigious scholarship and program for honor students called the Eminence Fellows Program and Scholarship. It's awarded through a separate application to our top honor students. And we have just 25 full cost of attendance awards to distribute for 8 full-time semesters. It is a program in addition to a scholarship. So we're not just sort of giving you the money and letting you run, but we're giving you the money and expecting you to participate in this rich, rewarding program that's really places a high regard on academic rigor, original inquiry, and service. The Eminence experience is one of opportunity, but also one of responsibility and commitment. So students awarded the Eminence Scholarship are part of a select group of undergraduate honors students that embark on a unique 4-year journey of academic rigor, service, and leadership. The program provides extraordinary opportunities and support for students that are ambitious and have high expectations for themselves. We're looking for students who have been and who want to be challenged both academically and through dedicated involvement in giving back to the community, doing something they feel passionate about. The collaborative spirit of giving back is a hallmark of the Eminence Fellows program. Eminence Fellows contribute to the campus and local community through the development of a class service initiative. And this unique cohort-based service project really fosters a collective effort at addressing a community issue or problem that is identified and researched by the students themselves. Additionally, we're looking for students who have strong communication skills as evidenced through an essay question and a 2-minute video introduction. Additional considerations will be given to service that extends beyond high school organizations and groups, leadership that threads through academics and service, depth and breadth of involvement, experience, and leadership, and a collaborative spirit and teamwork inspired experience. Students must apply to the university and indicate interest in honors by the early action deadline of November 15th. Then students must complete and submit the Eminence application by November 23rd. So it is that separate application, which includes an essay question and a 2-minute introductory video. We encourage all applicants with questions to visit our website, which is listed there, and learn more about the Eminence program and think about applying. With that, we're happy to answer any of your questions, and we can be found via email, phone, or social media. So please contact us to find out more. We are also not doing on-campus visits this fall, but we have students that are waiting to do Zoom visits with you. And so you can call and request a Zoom visit with a student, and that is just a great way to sort of get to know a student and to ask all of your questions. And with that, I'm happy to introduce Professor Dana Miller, who is going to take it away from here and talk about undergraduate research for us.
Hi, everyone. Thanks so much for coming today. It's great to be here. So first, I wanted to tell you a little bit about myself. I'm actually originally from Northeast Ohio, and I attended undergraduate at Brown University, and that's really where I first got involved in research as an undergraduate. So I'm happy to be able to continue to propagate that here. So after that, I did my master's, PhD, and postdoc at Yale University, continuing in research, and I came here to Ohio State in 2016. And I run the Indoor Environmental Quality Research Group. And so we study the indoor microbiome, so the fungi and bacteria within your home, as well as indoor chemistry. And in particular, we look how those have implications for childhood asthma. So I'm actually in the College of Engineering and the College of Public Health. In the College of Engineering, I'm in Civil, Environmental, and Geodetic Engineering. That's my primary appointment, and I have a secondary appointment in the College of Public Health in Environmental Health Sciences. I also have a courtesy appointment in microbiology, and I'm a core faculty member of the Sustainability Institute. So I know a lot about different places on campus. But I am a big supporter of undergraduate research. Since I've been here since January 2016, I've had 18 undergraduates work in my research group, which has been really fantastic. That maybe is a little bit on the higher side than a lot of faculty members, but I think it's really, really important and a great experience for the students. And not only is it a great experience for the students, but these students make up really important members of our research group. They make important contributions to the work that we're doing. And actually, I've published with a lot of them, and they end up with their names on publications. So some of the benefits that I think this really provides to students is the opportunity to work really closely with a faculty member over an extended period of time. So oftentimes research will require a longer term time commitment. Usually at the beginning, I'm asking for students to be interested in conducting at least 2 semesters of research at that time, because these are difficult and challenging projects. You do get to work on new things that no one has ever done before, and find out new knowledge that no one has ever known before. And that's really hard and challenging, and it does take a lot of time. So we're usually looking for someone who wants to be committed to that up front, is really excited about it, and ready to get going. But the nice thing is it takes a little time for people to get up and running and learn what's going on. But ultimately, I find students end up bringing their own ideas to projects and ways to do things better and how to improve things. And I think that's one of the most exciting parts for me, actually, is seeing what other ideas people can bring to solve difficult and challenging problems that ultimately have important implications for our world and in improving life for everyone in society and addressing these really important issues. So overall, I think it's a really great experience. It's a really unique experience that people and students get to have being involved in these research projects, and it's really beneficial. So I'm really happy to answer questions that anyone has after this, and I'll also turn it over to my students maybe to give their introductions as well.
Hi, my name is Emily Wiegand. I go by she, her, and I am currently a second-year chemical engineering major working under Dr. Dana Miller. I thought I would use my part of this webinar to sort of go over how I got involved in undergraduate research. Like many of you, I applied under the honors program, and I sort of knew going into college that I wanted to get involved in research in some capacity. But the thing about Ohio State is that there are plenty of research opportunities across all majors and all disciplines. But because of that, it can also be a little difficult at first to narrow down how exactly can I get involved in such a big campus. So what I did is, for my first semester that I was here, I did a lot of research into different faculty members and different lab programs in areas that I expressed interest in. And I didn't do this alone. I reached out to the undergraduate office of research, and I scheduled a few meetings with them, and I was able to talk to them about, okay, I'm interested in doing research related to the environment, possibly related to engineering. What are my options? How can I get in contact with these professors? So over the course of the fall semester, I had a few meetings with them. I did a lot of my own research into different professors and their labs, and eventually I started sending out emails to different professors that might be interested in getting involved in. One of the things I will say about getting involved in research as an undergraduate is that you have to be proactive in the process. You will not be given a research opportunity just by existing. You need to take the initiative to reach out to different professors, to do your own research into what projects might interest you. But if you do that, if you are proactive, you can absolutely find a research position on campus that matches your interest. Yeah, so that's how I got involved. I did my own research. I sent a bunch of emails. I eventually got in contact with Dr. Dana Miller, and here I am today. And I got involved last spring, so about the time when COVID really hit and everything sort of went for a spin. But I was still able to conduct research virtually. And even though it wasn't in the lab, I still feel like I gained a lot of new skills that I wouldn't have gotten otherwise. And I set a good foundation to continue research for the rest of my undergraduate career. And I highly recommend to anyone who is interested in doing undergraduate research to absolutely reach out to different professors, get yourself involved, no matter what the situation is, even if COVID is still happening, hopefully not, but you will still be able to get involved, and it is so fulfilling, and I learned so much, and I'm connecting with a bunch of different peers and discovering new ideas every day. So yeah, it's my story, highly recommend, and I guess I'll turn it over to Nick now.
Hi everyone, my name is Nick Nastasi. I'm currently a second-year graduate student in the environmental science graduate program. I'm also doing a specialization in public health. I did graduate in 2018 with an environmental engineering degree. I was not part of the honors program, but I did graduate with honors research distinction. So I did that thesis portion of the honors program. So I actually had three different experiences with undergraduate research. I guess I should preface, I'm a non-traditional student. So I didn't come from high school. I actually worked in construction for many years after high school and started college when I was 30. And I started at Columbus State, which is a local community college. So even before I transferred to Ohio State, I wound up getting a research position at Ohio State in the physics department doing condensed matter physics, which is not in my wheelhouse at all. It was very confusing and difficult. But I was actually placed in there, so that wasn't like a choice that I had. They kind of just like set me up with the lab there. But it was very beneficial. I learned that I didn't want to do that, which is also a good thing to know. It was a 3-month appointment, and I wound up staying there for 7 months, just helping them set up a new lab space. And then when I transferred to Ohio State, I wanted to get a research position in the environmental engineering department, but there was none currently available that I knew of. So I got a federal work study job working in the lab. So really, that means I wash dishes a lot, but I was in the lab and I got to actually see what everyone was doing down there. And eventually, I got really close with some of the lab groups, and one of the professors reached out to me and asked to join for the summer. And I did do that, working with hydraulic fracturing fluid and microbial communities. And really, I was helping a bunch of graduate students that were there at the time. And I did wind up getting my first co-authorship on a publication. I think it was my second year at Ohio State. That professor eventually left, and right around that time, Dr. Dana Miller actually sent out an email about needing some students. So I went and interviewed for that. And she said there was a quick project for microscopy, and 2 years later that was published after I graduated. But it was actually a really fun experience, and got to learn a lot about molecular techniques, even more about microscopy. Spent a lot of hours in the microscope room looking at fungal growth on carpet. But it was actually really fun to, like, as I was doing it, like, have more questions, which is why that project eventually got longer and longer and longer. But it turned out to be a really good paper, and I was really happy with it at the end. Um, but yeah, I mean, currently I'm actually working on dust from the International Space Station. So that is really cool. I am a space nerd, so I am all about that. One of the main reasons I stayed in grad school, because I was all about that project for sure. Um, but yeah, research has like taught me a lot of beneficial things. Um, I would say like the most is like learning to deal with failure, because there's a lot in the research process, and it's something that I was not used to. Um, so you try a lot of different things, and a lot of things do not work. So you have to, just kind of learn from that and keep going, and eventually it will work or it won't, and you got to change direction completely. But it's a good skill to have, to just like roll with the punches and complete the project no matter what. Um, and also just like working with people from different backgrounds is very enjoyable. And I know like when I first transferred, like it was really good for me to like get into a lab group, because it made this like huge campus seem smaller, um, if that makes sense. You have like this group of people that you talk to every week, and it just didn't seem as overwhelming for me. But yeah, I love research. It's been my favorite part of Ohio State. The classes are all right, but I really like the research part and applying what I learn in those classes. I'm a very hands-on person, so I love being in the lab and just working with that stuff. And yeah, I would be happy to answer any questions that you guys have.
And I want to chime in too. I think Nick's experience here is a really great example of some really amazing things that can happen when students get really excited about research. That quick project, and I'll say quick project, we just had this sort of seed of an idea, and Nick really took that and ran with it and made it his own, and built this pretty amazing publication. We weren't thinking we would necessarily even get a full publication out of this initial idea, and really just kept building on it, and ended up with this really unique contribution to the literature. So I think, to me, that's a really great success story, and a really good example of how research allows you to really take ownership of something and kind of be the leader in project direction. And obviously you need to work with your faculty member, and there may be certain limitations around funding and things like that, but you can really sort of take that leadership in project direction.
So a question for Emily. Emily, what did it look like to do research virtually? So you said you were able to do some research even though it was virtual. How did that look? What did you end up doing?
Well, there's seems to be two parts to the lab that I'm currently in. One is the wet lab experiments that you're actually physically doing in the lab, but those experiments also produce a lot of data and numbers that come afterwards, and you have to analyze that and try to figure out like what are these plain numbers even telling you, what's the bigger picture there. So a lot of this summer was spent learning new skills to help process that data, and including to also performing my own analyses of the data in order to reach some new conclusions and come up with new ideas for maybe next steps that I could potentially take in a research project farther down the line. So it is a lot more computer heavy than you might think from a wet lab, but it is still a very important part of the research process. In whatever discipline you go into, you will have to analyze data of some sort or compile things. So yeah, I found it a very valuable experience.
Great. Good. And I know you're only a second year, but have you thought about your own research thesis yet? And when do you know from your friends and things like that that usually gets started? When do students usually start their senior honors research thesis?
So from what I have gathered, oh, what did you say?
I was going to say maybe Professor Deanna Miller could speak to that one too.
Yeah, because so everything that I'm doing now has the potential to be part of this final senior honors thesis. From
Awesome.
what I've gathered, we're really going to get into the nitty gritty into my junior year and actually develop a plan that will be conducted throughout most of senior year to actually get that thesis published and running. And I think one of the benefits of getting involved in undergraduate research early on is that you have a lot more time to sort of figure out some of the lab skills. So then when you do start your thesis project, you can sort of start up and running, I guess. So.
Great.
Yeah, and I would agree with that. I think it varies student to student. Emily is a great example of getting involved in research early. So probably sort of the optimal time to start thinking about research is around your sophomore year, maybe your junior year, or in that general time frame when you've had a little bit of time to get established on campus, you know what's going on with your classes, and you feel like, okay, now I want to expand on this and build upon this a little bit. Some of it does depend on how many semesters you have to contribute to the research. I think summers are also really helpful. You can, for instance, apply for various summer research fellowships, which are great because you not only have you won this award, but now you're going to be supported to spend the summer at Ohio State working on that research project, which can then ultimately go towards your undergraduate thesis. So it varies student to student. Like I said, to get started in research, you usually want to start out with at least that 2-semester commitment. Ideally, maybe something like spring semester in the following summer, something like that, and then build on it from there. But all the colleges are going to have different requirements as well, so it's probably worth reaching out on a college-specific basis to understand a little bit more about what the requirements are and when is the appropriate time to get involved in research.
Great, thanks. And we have a question that came from the audience. Maybe Dr. Deanna Miller, maybe you could answer this one first, and then any of your students could chime in. But the question is, what do you do when your research doesn't work how you want it to work?
Yeah, so that's a great question. As Nick mentioned, research is really challenging. We're doing things that no one has ever done before, and we don't always know exactly how it's going to work out, or things might work out a little bit differently than what we expected. But ultimately, we're trying to learn about how the world works, and we don't always control that. You know, the world works in a certain way. We're trying to figure it out, and ultimately you need to report what that actually is. What did you ultimately find? Some of those things that are unexpected are the most exciting and surprising things that you can come across that you maybe didn't even necessarily anticipate as being an issue. But I know, you know, it really depends on each project, and it depends on each situation. It is a great way to build resilience. Sometimes when something doesn't work out, you try something else. You're like, oh, I tried this technique, it just didn't work. Let's try this a different way. Usually you're kind of building this whole process. So I would definitely not expect a lot of things are going to be easy or a lot of things are going to work, but I think that's part of the exciting part of it.
Great, thanks. Another question that just came in is, how much time does research take out of your schedule? So how do you balance classes, research, and college life? So how do you balance all that? How do you balance it all?
So I'll start maybe with the first part about how much time research takes and let Emily and Nick maybe answer the other parts of it. So it's going to depend on your individual situation. There are students who are just in research for a little bit, decide it's not for them, and then ultimately leave, and they might not spend a lot of time doing research, but it's going to depend what the situation is with any given advisor, as well as the program within a college if you're working towards building that thesis. So for instance, in the College of Engineering, you need to take 6 credit hours of research credit in the lab. A credit hour is equivalent to about 3 hours a week in the lab. Many students will actually spend more time on top of that, for instance, doing a summer undergraduate research fellowship to build up to that thesis level. Within the College of Engineering, though, 3 of those credit hours can also count towards a technical elective credit. So that's really convenient. However, those are going to vary college to college. That's just within the College of Engineering. So the nice thing about research is the more you put into it, the more you get out of it. And so it can vary situation to situation. But if you do want to be involved in research, I would think of it as definitely a commitment where you're excited about this. You do want to put some time into trying this out. And it works out for a lot of people. It doesn't work out for everyone. Some students try it out and ultimately decide it's not for them. So it just depends. But I'll let Emily and Nick talk a little bit about the other part of that question.
Great. Guys, how do you balance it all?
You could, I'll go first. To be honest, I don't think I ever actually balanced it, but that's not like a bad thing. So I will say, like, it is definitely a time commitment, and I think it's important to pick a research topic that you are at least interested in.
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise, you're probably not going to make it through. But I would say the last year for me was probably the hardest, just because there was like additional classwork to do in order to graduate, and different projects and stuff like that related just to my coursework. But I don't know. I think like our lab is a little different because it's microbial related, so it's a longer time commitment and sometimes like off hour visits to the lab, which are not as fun. But we all help each other too, and if someone can't do it, like our other lab members always help out. And yeah, I think like it's somewhat flexible. Maybe besides like when you're first learning how to be in the lab, like you can kind of set your own hours, and you can get everything done for sure. Like it's not easy, and I definitely never found that balance. I'm still trying to figure that out.
Emily, how about you?
I would really suggest, because again, your research can count for credit hours. And while you only need 6 for the thesis hours, like I will probably end up with more than 6 eventually. But I specifically, when I make my schedule for the school year, I'm like, okay, I'm going to have an hour or 2 credit hours of research in my schedule. So I know I'm going to have to plan time for it, just like I would have to plan time for any of my classes. That works for me. Again, some people view it more as just like an extracurricular type thing that you need to put more time into, but I generally find if I use it as a credit hour, that way my actual coursework isn't way too heavy and I don't feel like way overwhelmed. And so far, again, I'm a sophomore. I am just starting out in this lab still, but I'm still, I don't know, I'm still doing things. I am not all consumed by research. I still have time for my classes. I still have time for friends. I'm in band, well, what it can be right now, but you can definitely find a balance, I think, at least at the undergraduate level. It's a bit more tricky when you to graduate. Yeah.
Definitely. Great. Let's see. Another question is, where do you guys hope to go after you graduate? So what are your plans for the future? Do you have any yet?
Yeah. That's a great question. So again, I'm a sophomore. Who knows where we'll end up? But I do have a pretty strong interest in at least getting a master's degree after I graduate. I can say that my master's degree is probably going to be in a different discipline than what I'm currently doing undergraduate research in, and that's totally fine. But yeah, I'm still not entirely sure where that focus is going to be, but I do definitely think that I want to end up getting a master's, and don't have to have it all figured out at all. I didn't. I came in as a veterinary animal sciences major, and here I am now. So yeah,
Yeah,
change your mind.
definitely able to change your mind.
Yeah.
Yeah. Nick, how about you? Have you given it any thought to life after grad school?
Yes, I've given it a lot of thought. So I'm 36 now, and I still don't really know what I want to do when I grow up. Um, but I'm actually have made the decision to stay for a PhD.
Okay,
I really
great.
like school, apparently. But after that, I don't know. I am open to like teaching, maybe. I would love to work at NASA or like one SpaceX or something like that. You know, since they're trying to put people on the moon and Mars now, like they're going to need indoor environmental quality specialists with the microbial communities. So um, that would be like my number one pick for sure.
Awesome. Thank you. Let's see if we have any other questions. If you have questions, folks, we still do have a few minutes. You can throw them in the Q&A. Otherwise, we will be wrapping it up soon. We want to be cognizant of your time, but we do have a few more moments for some questions for our students or for Dr. Dana Miller.
I did want to add to that last
Yeah.
question too. Students who participate in undergraduate research, it does definitely propel them forward into whatever career they choose. So of the undergraduates in my group, I've had people go on to graduate school at a bunch of different universities. I've had people go into industry, into consulting. Some are interested in medical school. You know, there's a wide range of things that people do with undergraduate research. And the nice thing is when you're leaving Ohio State, you can get this really great reference letter from a faculty member who's worked really closely with you and can say, I know this person, they did a great job, you know, they're going to do a great job at your whatever you know, program or business or wherever it is that they're going. So that's a really great benefit of it as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah. The other thing I wanted to highlight during this time too is also just the exciting things that you get to work on with research projects. So, you know, even within our group, Nick has highlighted this project that's funded by NASA where we receive samples from the International Space Station. And, you know, these samples are actually collected by astronauts in low Earth orbit and sent to our lab. They, you know, splash down in the ocean, make our way to our lab, and we get to do really exciting things with them to learn about what's happening in the International Space Station and how to maintain a healthy environment up there for astronauts. So that's really exciting. We get to do projects like that. We work with collaborators on samples from birth cohort studies in New York City, where we have 1,000 samples from children who have asthma, and we get to learn about their early life exposures and how that contributed to their health later on in life. We have some projects that seem almost, I would say, almost silly at the beginning, where we have these chambers where we're incubating carpet samples in them to learn about what happens to the microbial communities if you have excess moisture in your home. But that has really important implications for homes with moisture problems or mold damage or things like that. And we can contribute knowledge to that area. We can look at microbial function. We can look at what the microbes are actually doing. And this is just within our research group. The research across Ohio State and all the different colleges is really endless. There's so many exciting projects that exist there. You can really look into almost anything you want. And a common question that I get from students is kind of like this: what do I do next? How do I realize what my interests are? And one thing that I often encourage students to do is I'll say, like, think about when you think about nothing. So when you're brushing your teeth in the morning and you're just kind of daydreaming, you know, what is it that bothers you? What is it that you're thinking about? And oftentimes that's a really great direction for you to go. What bothers you in the world? What would you change? And research is a great way to get involved in something that you're really passionate about and make a positive impact.
That's awesome. I like that. Think about what you're not think about what you don't How did you phrase that again? Say
Think
that again.
about what you think about when you think about nothing.
Okay. Yeah, I like that. um, see if we have any other questions.
See that we have one question about biomedical science, and I can jump in and talk about it a little bit. I know that we're going to make sure that you have the link to the biomedical science major as well. My best recommendation, rather than just listening to me, is to reach out to Stephen Musettis, who's the program manager for biomedical science. But with that, that program does require a separate application. So on the Common App, you would actually be picking what is your secondary choice for a major, in case you didn't get into the biomedical science program. And so with that, you would, after you fill out the Common App, submit your application, you would apply to the biomedical science program. And that's going to offer a lot of opportunities for students to do research within that program. I know that there's a lot of cancer research and other research that those students are doing from times that I've sat in listening to Stephen speak about the program and had opportunities to hear students from that program speak. But we can make sure that we get you the link to the biomedical science major, and I would encourage you to speak or reach out to Stephen. He's the person who knows everything about the program. He's been the program manager for years now at this point. So he is definitely the best resource available for that. And I see that Carrie's put in Stephen's information in the chat. So like I said, that would be my best recommendation for any questions related to biomedical science. I also see that there's a question about, are we going to get a recording of this webinar? The webinar is being recorded, and once it's available, I'm going to work with Carrie, or I believe that Carrie will work to see where we might be able to host this presentation on the Honors and Scholars website. But I don't, I'll also let Carrie speak to if we know yet where it will be hosted, but that is the plan.
It'll be somewhere on the Honors and Scholars website. We'll have some prominent place where you'll be able to find it. So they'll have a link on the front page to check out our webinars, so that you should be able to go and view this again if you'd like, or any of the other webinars that we've done earlier in the summer.
And
great question.
And I do have, you know, I guess one last question that I'll ask for Emily and Nick. And oh wait, okay, seeing that, just looking at the Q&A quickly, saw some things that Angela is working with there, but just for Emily and Nick, just maybe talking about why you chose Ohio State. And I know, Nick, as a non-traditional student, that your answer may be a bit different than Emily's, but I think that that's still good to hear all the different ways that students come into Ohio State and their reasons for choosing Ohio State.
Yeah, I can go first. So I am from South Florida, so Ohio State is not the most expected choice for me. But what really drew me to Ohio State was the location, again, the academics, and the big campus and the many opportunities that are provided by being on such a big campus. Like, again, there is so much that you can do, not even research related, just in general, and extracurriculars. So many new people you can meet. And because we live like right in a city, in terms of like internships, like later down the line, or actually getting a job, there's so many opportunities there. And plus, again, like I love taking classes here too. I feel like I am academically challenged. Yeah, I'm very glad I ended up at Ohio State. I've made some great friends, had some great experiences and memories, and I've learned a ton throughout the process. So, yeah.
Yeah, for me, also, I'm not from Ohio. I'm from New Jersey. So it wasn't football that drew me to Ohio State. I still have actually never been to a game. um, but for me, like I started at the community college, like I mentioned earlier, and I wasn't planning on going to Ohio State, to be honest. I wanted to move out west, like Washington, Colorado. But the research experience that I had with the physics department kind of changed my mind. Just being like on the campus, because until that point, I'd never actually been on campus. And I just really liked the people that I met and the whole like feeling of being on the campus. So I decided to stay and applied for some scholarships and got them. So it was an easy choice after that. Definitely do not regret it. I'll go out west eventually.
Definitely. Emily, we had someone say that they're from South Alabama and they want to know how hard it was to adapt to the climate in Ohio.
I would recommend finding friends up here and going shopping with them so you actually know what clothes you should actually get. Because I think I came out with a few very thin long sleeve shirts and a couple sweatshirts. And that was the extent of my winter wardrobe. So in terms of like buying a coat, buying boots, what pants would actually work, just ask. A lot of people in Ohio know what the cold's like. So ask them. I had seen snow, I think, twice before coming up here. So definitely an adjustment, but I love it. It's so much better than being hot all the time. So yeah.
It's great. Thanks.
All right, with that, looks like it's almost 7 o'clock, so want to be cognizant of everyone's time. Want to thank you for coming to the webinar tonight. As I said earlier in the original email that you received to sign up for this one, that we do have a few more coming up, a few on scholars and then one on the honors classroom that's coming up in October, and one on imminence that's coming in November. So certainly would love to have you joining us for those webinars as well, along with if you're interested in the scholars programs and just finding out about the differences between honors and scholars, joining us for those sessions as well. Hope to be able to see you on campus soon. Know that that won't happen this fall, but I want to thank everyone for joining us, and have a good evening and stay safe.
Everybody.